Yes, it's time to get excited because in Season 6, guys, finally, Warrior Archers are going to get a brand new toy, as well as the Warrior Cavalry, Tactical Pikeman, and Tactical Cavalry, all getting new toys in Season 6. And what's really crazy about this, guys, is they're all new heroes, especially 3 of them that we didn't know existed, apart from some minor leaks of their images and video images of them through the Age of Empires mobile. But we have more today. That is Dai Yum, we've got Zhao Yun, we've got William the Conqueror, hell to the air for the Tactical Cavalry there. We've got SCIPIO Africanus, as many people know, and finally, Alp Arslan. And I'm not gonna lie, many people, including myself, should be super hyped about this because it's our very first Warrior Archer to get in a very long time. That could be potentially OP and upgrade many of our marchers, which we're going to have obviously to take a look at in today's video. So with that, obviously, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. And again, thank you to the community and thank you to Laser, who honestly reached out on Discord, provided all the images that you've just seen, as well as taking it one step above and kind of making these 30-second clips of each hero. So you got to see with what we've got to work with today, but it's everything you're going to need to know anyway on a basic level on what these heroes do, so you're not going to feel left out. So with that, let's dive into today's video, right? So we've got Yang Yum, as I want to pronounce. I could be completely wrong on that, but I think it's pronounced Yang Yum. If I'm wrong, I am sorry to all of those guys out there. But Yang Yum here is going to be a tactical cavalry unit, as you can see. And from her actual video footage, you'll see that we've got access to her skills. Her commander skill is going to be 250 rage. It just recovers your units and increases the strategy damage dealt by your other heroes. Obviously, it would have been nice to see how much percentage that was. Obviously, Laser didn't think about that at the very beginning part of it, so don't worry. It's nothing to stress about because we only need to know a base level of what these are going to do before we actually test them for you guys and see if they're going to be worth investing into, right? So her commander skill, it's nothing great. It's going to be something like Tamiris on that ballpark, so I wouldn't really go too much on using her as a commander. However, her signature skill is a little bit different. Her signature skill is a 40% active chance on an active skill, which is kind of disgusting, right? It's a pretty high uptime for a skill, but this recovers your units and it increases the strategy and might of your other 2 heroes by an amount based on Yang Yum's base attributes. It stacks up to 3 times and cannot be dispelled. So you got to think, her base, this is not without any gems, no tech, no nothing, I believe, put on top, but her base, her actual base attributes, right? Whatever they are, they're going to be able to be applied, as you guys will notice, to either your Belisariuses, right, in the future, your Hannibals, technically, as the commanders for either the pikemen or for those tactical cavalry units. And because of that, as you guys will have guessed it, she's going to be increasing the amount of damage that they deal. They're going to be reducing the amount of damage they take too because of the might side of things. So it's going to be really interesting to see how good this is. It stacks up to 3 times. Many people know Zhu Liang already does a very similar effect for the swordsman, and he's fantastic. Like, he is actually a fantastic support hero, right? Even at 3 stars, absolutely cracked hero. So this is going to be one we definitely need to keep an eye out on, especially when we go into her more skills now. You'll see she actually has some really good options for her more skills. She has Peaceful Haven, perfect to go instantly with that recovery built into that signature skill. So you already have a payoff, which is a 20% damage reduction at max. Fantastic for that. But she also has options of Immortal Army and Kingsblade. The thing is, Kingsblade could be an option just because it does increase the damage output of all of your marches, all of your heroes in that march, which is going to be fantastic. However, I will tell you, Immortal Army does not sound like something you need. And that is just because if you read her signature skill again, her recovery obviously gets applied on, which is what Immortal Army does. But more importantly, the stacks up to 3 times cannot be dispelled, meaning you cannot be removed. This is really good because Immortal Armyy is about kind of, you know, getting rid of those debuffs, so you're always hitting at max attributes. But she already has this built in, which is quite powerful for a hero, right? So when we get into Strengthening Fortification, this is going to be her customizable skill. You're always going to be equipping this onto, and it's going to say when the commander uses their signature skill, you increase their customizable skill damage. When they use their customizable skills, you guessed it right, you increase their activation chance of their signature skills. So either way, your commander is going to get a benefit out of it. And I will tell you, this skill here does seem to be more tailored to Belisarius. This is because Belisarius' last Roman, his signature skill, obviously is going to be activated more often, which is great. But every 2 activations, he's going to be triggering his customizable skills, which is now going to be dealing even more damage because of Strengthening Fortification. And then because of the Strength Fortification proc, guess what? That customizable skill, Iron Conquering Hoof, is going to make the signature do even more. So, as you can see here, it's a really good kind of skill that is all about both skills getting improved, not just one skill. So she actually looks pretty darn good. So that is Dae Yang Yum. If I'm pronouncing her wrong, I'm sorry, but she's going to be called the Yummy Queen for me on the Age of Empires mobile community. You can hate on me as much as you want. I couldn't care less, right? But she does look fantastic for everyone. So just to remind you all, guys, this is obviously for Dae Yang Yum, the tactical pikeman and tactical cavalry unit, and this hero for many of you guys will be available on the legendary advent wheel, and I'll showcase how I know that in a moment, so don't you worry. So moving on to the next leak though, Zhao Yun. This is probably one many people have been waiting for. This is the warrior cavalry unit that is supposed to replace that Attila finally, and he's going to be your new commander with Lubu in that second slot and Timur. So when we go on to Zhao's skills, you're going to see, again, very powerful skills here. Deals might damage to an enemy hero, which is very good because that's what we want, right? But then, more importantly, if we go back through, because it keeps going super fast, and we apply that 1 stack of Cloud Dragon Mark for 15 seconds while reducing damage taken by our troops. So you can already see straight away we're getting this brand new mark. This is very pinnacle to Zhao Yun, which you're going to see in his signature skill in a moment, but it also reduces damage. And as many people know, reducing damage is king in Age of Empires Mobile. I've been saying this since the beginning of the game, and people are now coming on board with what I'm saying, right? So when it comes to his signature skill, if you read this correctly, it's insane. It's a passive-based skill. Any of your heroes activates a secondary strike skill. You apply 1 stack of Cloud Dragon Mark to the enemy troop for 15 seconds. And when 3 stacks are reached, you consume all Cloud Dragon Marks applied to your troops and you deal might damage to the enemy. Additionally, as a chance to make Zhao Yun and the next hero in the double attack state for 3 seconds, and this skill has a base critical strike rate. It reduces the damage dealt by the customizable secondary strike skills learned by Zhao Yun and increases their trigger chance. So it's a lot to take in, I know, but what he's saying is any time your weak spot attacks, your Ripper Tigers are going off for Lubu, and even your Timur's secondary strike skills, for example, is going off, you're going to be applying a mark. Once you applied 3 marks, you're going to be dealing damage with Zhao Yun. But more importantly, once you've done that, you're going to be entering the double attack state with Zhao Yun and additionally the next hero, which is going to be Lu Bu, right? Which is fantastic. Really good. We want double attack state, and since we're losing, right, we're losing Attila in this lineup, it only makes sense that we're able to get critical strike rate in and a double attack state in too. So honestly, this hero, if you guys have not guessed it, I think he's going to be bonkers. He's going to be bonkers. And I know what you're going to be saying in chat. We can't see the percentages. I know. I know, right? But don't worry, there's going to be more information on these heroes later on today from other content creators and as well through live streams. So keep checking that out for all the up-to-date news. And obviously in the future, when all of these heroes get tested by us content creators for you guys, so you know what to go in for or not to go in for, right? So really powerful skill for that signature. And then when we move into his more skills, he's just got some good options, right? Dragon Manifestation. This is what we saw in the leaks that I did, which is really good. But he also has Critical Insight, Pain in Blood, and Dark Flag. What one do you want? Do you want to deal damage and recover? Do you want to deal damage and reduce their armor? Or do you want to increase your own critical strike even more with Critical Insight? It's kind of disgusting the way this hero could be built. When you go to Dragon Manifestation though, after a normal attack, it alternates between these two effects. You either increase all of the activation chance of your customizable secondary strike skills, as you can see, for 6 seconds, or you immediately uses the other customizable second strike skills but reduces its damage. So with Dragon Manifestation, what it's basically telling you is if you have this equipped and you launch a normal attack, you're either doing one of two things. You're either launching damage immediately from the Dark Flag or from the Pain in Blood, whatever you've got equipped, because it's going to bang, bang, bang on the number 2. Or, as you can see, you're going to increase the activation chance of those skills. So they're going to get, fired off more often anyway. So either way, again, kind of like Daeyum here, you're getting benefits on both sides. And I think this is going to be maybe the next thing that we see with these new heroes on their way to Age of Empires Mobile. So that's Zhao Yun. And I'm just going to let him play out in the background, obviously, to give you guys my final thoughts before we move on to the next hero to disclose. But really good. I'm actually going to be investing into this hero. I do think I'm going to go for, obviously, 3 stars on him. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be really important to see what the 5 stars is, because I can assume from his stars alone, they're going to be increasing like the marks or the damage or the activation chance, right, of these effects from going off, right? So this is probably why we need him as the commander over anyone else. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be pretty good. I can't wait to look forward to it. Even though I'm a Warrior Archer player, this looks really good for the Lubu Archers. So be pretty hyped for all of that, right? So from there, we've got Alp here, Alp Aslan. So you can see so far we've gone through Dae Yang Yum, we've got Zhao Yun there, and then actually, you know what? We'll go through William. We'll go through William next. William the Conqueror next, right? Because he is a really cool looking hero. He's going to be in Tactical Cavalry, as you can guys see, support buff. And when we break down his skills, as you guys can imagine, they're going to be very, very, very cool. And this is the first hero, before we go any further, where we have a little bit more information compared to every other hero we've talked about so far, which is the other 2. And that is because this guy is, as you guys will guess, your MGE hero. So if you are looking for the mightiest governor event hero out of all of these, it's going to be William the Conqueror. And as you guys will notice in the image, yes, you're going to be able to earn a Shocker, Ramcam, and Ramses in this mightiest governor event. So even if you missed out on old heroes, you might be able to get some brand new heroes and the old ones as well, which is quite fantastic if you've missed any of these, heroes for the formation that you're going to need. So just to remind you, this is going to be your mightiest governor event hero, which does mean our Zhao, what we've seen, and the other 2 heroes that we're going to see are going to be your legendary advent wheel heroes. Remember that, because I don't want to repeat myself in the comment section for those that didn't watch the video, right? So with that, let's get into his skills. We've got our commander skill here for our William the Conqueror. He recovers your units and reduces armor and strategy of the primary target's commander. So whoever you're fighting, you're going to reduce their strategy and their armor. Additionally, when you deal damage to the troop, there is a chance to calculate using the lower enemy. So this is very similar to Elizabeth, if you've not guessed it. That last little bit of line of text is what Elizabeth has. So anytime you use him in the commander slot, basically, you're going to have better chances of always dealing damage to the target's weaker defense stats. If they've got lower strategy defense, great. If they've got lower might defense, great. Either way, you're going to be dealing more damage, basically. That's how his little hidden fury works. Is he going to be the commander, though? I don't think so. I still think you're going to run Belisarius or even Hannibal over this guy as the commander, because they just got better commander skills that you care about for the match. However, his signature skill changes everything. It is the very first, yes, you've seen there, turn-based cavalry skill that's going to be used on tactical cavs, right? If your heroes have completely different signature skill types, mark those skill types. That's the very first one. It's really interesting. Once every 6 seconds, you reduce damage taken by your troop and additionally reduce the damage taken from skills that have marked types for 3 seconds. So what that means is we've got a turn-based skill here on our signature skill. If we have a active skill, for example, on that signature skill for a primary commander or for Belisarius' sake and Hannibal's sake, if you've got a secondary strike skill equipped to that signature skill, well, while William is in that lineup, he's going to see that and he's going to reduce that type of damage that you take, right? So technically, if you've got more heroes, which is turn-based, signature, and active, right? But turn-based, active, and secondary strike skill-based, in theory, you apply a mark to each one of those types, and as you've read here, yes, you will be reducing damage taken from each type of those skills and by a certain amount for 3 seconds. And whenever an enemy activates a skill of those mark type, guess what? You increase your heroes with the same skill damage too. So again, if you've got a Belisarius and you're attacking a, I don't know, a Mulan or a Lubu, right? They're going to be dealing secondary strike skill damage. Your William's going to see that. You're going to retake less damage from that type of skill because you're going to equate to your Belisarius. And guess what? Your Belisarius is going to increase in his damage dealt too for 3 seconds. So it is a turn-based skill, but it's every 6 seconds this is going off, which is quite disgusting, as people probably will guess, as like Mehmed skills going off every 6 seconds are disgusting, and other support heroes. So William the Conqueror, very interesting. Very interesting. And obviously I would like to see what those percentages would have been, right? To see how much damage reduction we're really talking about here. But you got to remember, this is at level 1 skills. So it would have been nice to see, you know, at level 40. But that's what we're going to be testing out for you guys when it comes to it. So just remember, this is a preview. This is all about previewing, just so you know what's on its way before obviously it comes out. When it comes to their skills, though, you can see we've got Tenacity, Triple Offensive, Ultimate Strategy, and his own skill, Crown Claim, which is going to be, again, a pretty good darn skill when we read onto it. This is a passive-based skill, I believe, or a turn-based skill. When this hero uses their signature skill, right, you increase the other hero's signature skill damage, and if the type of skill is different from the hero's signature skill, it also gets a damage boost, which is 4 times stacks, which is just, again, really good. It's just, I think it's really good. I want to know what these percentages are. I think many of you guys will probably be saying the same thing. It'll be interesting to see what these percentages are. And again, in the future, if anyone wants to help me out, like Laser, who's probably watching this video too, if you just put on the extra details so we know what those percentages are, would be fantastic for everyone else. But we're going to see this very soon anyways, and obviously we can see some testing done by other players as well. So it's going to be good either way. I think this hero, as you guys can imagine, is going to be mental, right? He's going to be quite mental. Is he going to be better than a Shocker? I don't think so for the Cavs. Even though this guy is only for cavalry, you got to think, is he going to be better in a Belly Hannibal match than a Shocker? It's going to be quite interesting because this guy is going to increase the amount of damage you deal. As you can see, he is going to reduce the damage you take, which is good. But also, you got to think, a shocker has that one ability which it just makes you basically immune on turn 1 just because of a secondary strike skill. Is that skill going to be more beneficial than the amount of damage and the amount of reduction and this weird effect that William the Conqueror has here on his signature skill and on that crown claim ability? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the obviously comment section down below for William, because remember, this guy is your mightiest governor event hero. So everyone else we're about to showcase, the last 2 heroes, yes, you guessed right, are going to be on the legendary advent wheel. So is Zhao Yun and Mrs. Yummy, as we're calling her on the channel, right? So pulling out of this, let's go into the next hero, because William does look, I'm going to be honest, pretty darn good for those guys that are playing Tactical Cavalry. Now we've got Scipio, and this is the one many people have been excited about, because out of the 2 heroes, King Canute and Kimon, thank you for those guys that have been telling me that it's Kimon and not Simon or Simon. It's Kimon. So thank you for you guys. K, as we've been joking in the chat. K, poor K. Going into it though, when Scipio Africanus, he's going to be one of the actual warriors that you're going to be wanting to look out for, because he is a supporter in the same line as like a Mehmed, a Constantine, right? So you can kind of put this hero, hopefully, in most marches, not just the brand new ones, right? So when we look at Scipio's skills, right? His commander skill there, not too bad. Honestly, it's not too bad. Recovers units every second, and you increase the damage and activation chance of your other heroes. It's very similar to one we saw earlier on. Yes, it's okay, just like hers. However, it's not commander material. You guys know this by now. Unfortunately, putting Scipio in that main slot is going to lose out on all the damage potentially from that Miyamoto signature skill, or even maybe Yodit, depending on what you're running on her signature skill, and even the future heroes like King Canute, for example, right? So it just really does showcase these commander skills. Even though they're interesting, they're not that powerful, so don't worry about them. However, Scipio Africanus has a passive base skill. Yes, a passive. After your commander activates their signature active skill, you reduce the damage taken by for your troops for 3 seconds, which is fantastic. After triggering 5 times, your troop enters the conquest state, and during this state, your commander's signature active skill can deal critical strikes with increased critical strike rate and activation chance of your troops. Yes, you heard correctly, guys. The very first warrior swordsman out there that can deal critical hits. This is gonna be kind of disgusting and scary, because you gotta think, imagine Scipio with a Miyamoto and Lagertha combo. Bro, that skill hits hard already, and now we can critical strike with it? Excuse me? Like, yeah, okay. I think everyone has been probably waiting for this and been probably as excited as I've reacted to this for the very first time when it comes to Scipio Africanus' skills, because as you guys know, even in my video, which I did mess up in the good old Discord, that we just didn't get to see what Scipio finally did. We got to see what everyone else did, but Scipio's last line of text was missing, and this is honestly why, and I can see why, because it's disgusting. And just think, on top of this, your troops immediately recovers units after taking skill damage too. So we take damage, we recover units, right? When we fire off our commander's active signature skill 5 times, we enter this state, which is going to allow us to critical strike now. And each time our command activates that signature skill, we're reducing damage taken for 3 seconds. So we're reducing damage for 3, we're getting critical strike rate and chance on our skills, and we're recovering units, all in this one passive, and this is at level 1, and this is 1 star. Imagine a 5-star skill of this. It's going to be bonkers, and I think everyone that's been saying Scipio Africanus looks like the hero out of the 3 that's the most exciting and the most to be investable. guess what? You guys are correct. So big pat on the back for you guys that have been saying that, because I am 100% in agreement with what you are saying here with this skill. Absolutely nuts. But then it goes more. There's more, because we've got customizable skills. We got the one-man army, which is going to be obviously your main choice, but then we've got Bloodthirst, Righteous Judgment, and Kingsblade. And the thing is, I do think there's two ways to build this hero already. First thing, Kingsblade. Kingsblade, simple. You're increasing the damage even more on top of the critical strike damage that you're dealing. That's a bit unfair. That is really unfair, the amount of damage, steroid, and amplification that you're dealing there. The only other alternate that I would consider is actually Righteous Judgment, and I know some of you guys are saying, why not go for Fortification? It does recover units, and it gives you that insane, like, 100 armor stats for the 3 seconds. I get you. I 100% get you. But if you Righteous Judgment and reduce the enemy's base attributes, their strategy, their might, their armor, their what you're taking away, right? When you reduce those stats, it's actually way bigger of a, tanking buff than Fortification is. It just is. I'm sorry, right? It just is. You're just reducing way more damage and taking way less damage because you've literally reduced their stats down. And we all know how powerful stats are in this, right? So when it comes to the one-man army now, because obviously you're either going to go Kingsblade or Righteous Judgment, one-man army reads, this increases the chance of the other heroes in your troops to activate their signature active skill, and after a signature active skill is used, you boost the signature active skill damage of all, I know it goes really quick there, but it's all of your other heroes. So if we just kind of press that there, it's nuts. Anytime we are activating a signature skill on Miyamoto, Yodi, Lagertha, any of these heroes, right? That's going to be dealing damage as a primary hero. Well, we reduce damage, we recover units, we get in critical strike, and now we boost the signature active skill damage of all our other heroes in the troop. I am telling you now, Miyamoto, Lagertha, and this SCIPIO must deal absurd amount of damage. Is it going to be better than Tribuana? No one will know yet until we test it out, because this is going to be down to this simple argument: what's better? Straight up burst, straight up dealing insane damage as fast as possible in one blast, or is Tribuana better because she's more consistent? She can get your Miyamoto and Lagertha to start firing off those skills way more than Scipio Africanus. Who knows? But I am telling you now, Scipio is definitely a hero that I'm going to be unlocking and investing into. And I would recommend the same for many people that are running Warrior Swordsman, because this hero does look fucking cracked. And that's the best way of saying it nicely, right? So Scipio Africanus there, guys. Just to put him up on screen for one last time before we move on to the final hero that I have been waiting for. And I told you guys, I told every single one of you guys to bench your Bellevue if she's 3 stars, because there's most likely going to be a brand new Warriors Archer. And look at that, there's a brand new Warrior Archer out. And the thing is, he's going to be doing active skill-based damage over secondary strike skills. But this still technically could be a better hero than Bellevue at 3 stars. Let's be real. So let's take a look at this. My first ever look at looking at Arslan and see how I actually reacted to this hero, because he's going to be hopefully my replacement that I'm going to be using, right? So commander skill, War Lions Roar, 250. You deal might damage up to 3 enemy troops in a fan-shaped area in front, and you apply the flee effect, causing them to take might damage that ignores some defense every second for 9 seconds. Okay, that's not too bad. We've got area of effect now instead of Mulan's single target DPS, which is very interesting. But we've got a brand new mechanic, flee. So anytime we deal damage, it looks like, on this, we apply the flee effect to him, right? Flee sounds like rout, but maybe better, because instead of just doing damage all the time like Rout does, this is ignoring defense every second, as well as dealing that damage every second. Let's see where we go from this, because that's very interesting for a commander skill. Moving on to his signature skill, 55 activate. What the fuck? 55% activation chance. What? That's the most activation chance at base in the game, is it not? You apply the flee effect to the enemy troop, which you've just understood. You cause them to take might damage that ignores some defense every 9 seconds. If the enemy troop already has the flee state applied to them by your troop, you immediately settle the existing flee state. So what I think that means is it's quite interesting. What this means, I think, is when we look at this skill again, the commander skill, we apply flee, right, for 9 seconds. That's going to deal damage over time for 9 seconds. However, if they've got that flee state on and we trigger, say, this earth splitting hoof to deal damage, if it sees that flee state, it's going to deal the remaining amount of time for that skill and then reset it. That's the way I am believing it's going to work. So that means if you've got 6 seconds, 4 seconds of flee state remaining on the target, you're going to deal 4 seconds of flee state damage instantly, immediately in one go, and restart it. You're going to restart the new damage over time for 9 seconds. That's how I'm reading it. I could be completely wrong, but if it is, that's quite interesting. I'm not saying it's going to be absurd damage, because again, we can't see how much damage these heroes are going to do, which is going to be obviously a big, question mark for many of you guys. And obviously, check out other content creators like Sigam, who's going to be covering this too later on tonight as well on channel, and he's going to give you more information. So hopefully all of those content creators are working together to give you guys news and actually keep it spread out so everyone can provide a little bit of info to each of these heroes, right? So keep an eye out on that. So I am very interested on this hero. I want to see how much damage this hero really does in order for me to invest into him or to keep running, right? And as you can see, just as many people probably guess, this isn't real. Hey, there's me. That's me. You saw that Discord message. That's me. Because I was messaging Laser as you can see, he was recording this kind of skills and these videos, as you can see. So again, shout out to Laser for doing all of this for today's video. I know it's been a long one, but we've got through a lot of stuff in here. But Valorous Reputation. We deal might damage to the enemy troop, and if the target is in the flee state, we deal an additional instance of might damage, and if the target isn't in a flee state, we make them flee, and we deal might damage that ignores 10% of their defense every second for 6. So you can kind of see what we're doing here. I'll be honest, when it comes to Mr. Al Aslan, as I'm calling him, from the Lion Witch of the Wardrobe, he is an active-based warrior archer, which is a bit different, which means we are going to be most likely running our those high spirits, or maybe because we've got 55% activation chance, we don't need high spirit anymore because we're above 55. But hey, if we can get it even higher, I think most people will take that. But you got to think, the whole purpose of this hero is to hit his activation skills, to put the flee state onto you, to do damage over time on you, and if you've got the flee state, he's going to deal, bang, an immediate amount of damage of that remaining amount and reapply it. Is this going to be good enough, though, for warrior archers? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to test because, as you guys know, Bellevue at 5 stars does do some good damage, and she is a good hero at 5 stars. The issue we have with her is her 3 stars. It's her 3-star kit. So it's going to be one of them. If once we test it, is the damage over time warrant enough with the activation chance of his signature and this Valorous Reputation to technically fulfill that slot? Otherwise, as many people will say, or kind of go with, as I'm about to say, it might be just better to still run Mulan, Mehmed, and ran it. It sounds stupid, but it might be just better to run that instead of running Aslan. So it's going to be one where, don't worry, I'm going to test it. I am a Warrior Archer main myself. I love playing my Mulan, even though people hate Mulan nowadays. But look, it is what it is, right? But that comes full circle. That comes full circle to all of the heroes. So that's Dai Yang Yum. We've got Zhao Yun. We've got William the Conqueror. And we've got Scipio Africanus with Aslan at the very end of today's video. And just to showcase, Aslan's going to be on the good old wheel. Dai Yang will be on the wheel. We've got Zhao Yun also on the wheel. Then William the Conqueror, as many people have seen, is the mightiest governor event hero, which can also be won alongside either choosing Ashoka, Ramkam, or Ramses, which is really good for many people. And then finally, to finish it off, you've got obviously Scipio and Az. So everyone there, you can see who's on the good old legendary advent wheel and who is on the mightiest governor event. So I know, a long video, we've gone through a bunch of brand new leaks, and technically these are the new heroes that are around the corner for many of us in the global season, so keep an eye out on them, and let me know who you think is going to be interesting. I'll be honest, I think Scipio is going to be number 1, Zhao Yun number 2, and then everyone else is going to be quite up for debate. I think Dai Yum, Miss Yummy, could be the 3rd best hero. I don't know. It's down to how good maybe our warrior archers and the other tactical cavalry is in the game. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, smash that, comment, and subscribe. Until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky, guys, and peace out.